James Helder, IFL TV, MTK Global. With me, I've got Eddie Hearn. We're in Belfast today for Ryan Burnett, IBF World Champion, taking on WBA World Champion Zanik Zakhianov. Massive fight for Ryan Burnett. Firstly, Eddie, how are you?
Very well, James. Very well. Early start, wasn't it?
It was a bit early today.
You weren't even on my plane, but you come through the same time. A major spot at the airport this morning. Major celeb spot.
Good shout.
You referred to him as someone from
Time Team. Tony from Time Team.
What was his name? Tony from
yeah.
Time Team. I know him as Baldrick from Blackadder. Tony Robinson. So it was big. It was a big day for us, wasn't it?
Many of our younger viewers.
He's very small.
Know who that is. Yeah.
He's very small.
Yeah. Nice man as well, to be fair. Let's talk a little bit about this fight. Very big chance for Ryan Burnett. Still very young and chance to unify the division. How confident are you that he'll be the man to beat Zanik Zakhianov?
I believe him, Ryan. I believe he'll win the fight. I also know that Zanik Zakhianov is a brilliant fighter. He's absolutely tough as nails. I know how much he wants to win. I know how much Ricky Hatton wants to win this fight. So I think it's a 50-50 fight, but I believe Ryan Burnett's going to show the levels in this fight. I think that Burnett, if he is a elite fighter, and when I say elite, I mean basically pretty much number one in the division, I believe he wins on Saturday night. If he's not, if he's just this guy who we talk about, has got this, flashy skill, but he's going to have to show different things in this fight. I think he's going to have to show a good chin. I think he's going to have to show a lot of heart. They're all things we believe he has, but he hasn't had to show it yet. So doesn't really get much bigger than this in the division. And as far as I'm concerned, this is the fight for the number one spot in the Bantamweight division. It's to become the unified champion. It's the first ever unification fight in Northern or Southern Ireland. It's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere on Saturday night. And this is a real fight. It can slip under the radar a little bit because it's bantamweights, but in terms of, if you like your boxing and you love great fights, then you need to tune in on Saturday night, because HBO have it, Sky Sports have it, and anyone in boxing knows how good a fight this is. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Ryan Burnett has in the locker.
It's an interesting dynamic, the fact that Ricky Hatton used to train Ryan Burnett. He's nurtured him from a very early age, alongside Zanik Zakhianov as well. So no doubt they would have sparred a lot of rounds. What have you heard about the past attempts?
Well, they both seem to have taken something positive from the spars, because when we was negotiating the deal, Ryan said, I've sparred him before, I believe I can break him, hurt him and stop him. And Zanik Zakhianov said, well, yeah, I did very well in the spars, I want to take the fight. So sparring, when you get in the ring against someone like Zakhianov with 8-ounce gloves on, and he's throwing relentless leather, and he's coming at you non-stop, it is a different sport, really. I know that sounds weird, but that's the truth. People can handle people in sparring, but when you get in the ring, start trading leather with those small little gloves on, it does become a different dynamic. And I think the storyline in this is interesting as well. Obviously, like you say, Ricky had Ryan Burnett for a long time. Then he went to Adam Booth. I think he's a different fighter under Adam Booth, but there is that dynamic as well. You know how badly Ricky Hatton want to win this fight, and I don't think there's any real bad blood between Ricky Hatton and Ryan Burnett, but he used to train him, so he'll be desperate to beat him. Don't worry about that. And of course, Adam and Ryan are desperate to win as well. This is the kind of fight that I think Adam and Ryan have been looking for, to show all the things that they've talked about for many years about Ryan Burnett, Like, he beat Lee Haskins well, it was a good performance, but now it's time to show it against the elite. He's proven he's world class. Now he has to prove he's elite, and I believe victory on Saturday night will put him as number one in the division. I think Jamie McDonnell is, right up there as well. But in terms of wins, to beat Haskins and then Zakhianov, I think that would put you in the number one spot. Can open up fights.
Has Jamie McDonnell expressed any interest in wanting the winner of Ryan Burnett?
Yeah, Jamie McDonnell's up for fighting anyway. I mean, firstly, he has a very difficult rematch against Liborio Solis, defending his world title in Monaco on November the 4th. You've got Paul Butler as well, which is waiting in the wings for the winner of that fight as well. Butler will also probably want the winner of this fight. McDonnell will probably want the winner of this fight. So, it's sitting well for the domestic scene in bantamweights. But this is a chance for Ryan to become an international name. You know, like I said, it's on HBO in America, all around the world, and this is a real fight. You know, the American audience watch Zakyanov beat Rashi Warren, which was a huge win for him, and Warren's an excellent fighter. So to go and do that on foreign soil shows you what kind of fighter Zakyanov is.
He's a huge underdog for that fight.
Yeah, but I think sometimes you're an underdog because no one really knows about you. So I think, I'm not sure the odds for this fight. I think it's, you know, Ryan's the favourite, but you know, maybe home advantage would give you a little bit of an edge over the bookies. But essentially, it's I see it as a 50-50 fight between two great world champions.
Another fight that we wasn't expecting to have on the card, Tyrone McKenna versus Tommy Coyle. Tommy Coyle unfortunately suffering an injury in his camp. That fight's out, and we've seen the Garrido, the Lion.
Yeah, the Lion step in. It's another great fight. I mean, looking forward to the fight with Tyrone and Tommy, but also we have a great fight with Garrido and Tyrone as well. It's quite funny because Garrido's like the busiest man on social media. You know, he uses Google Translate to talk.
I do. Indeed.
Although his English is getting better, he's a real character in the game. And whenever he sees a fight fall through at 140 or 147 pounds, straight away you get your inbox on Twitter. Hello, it's me, the Lion. I am ready. So he tweeted me, private message, and said, I am ready, Tyrone McKenna, right? So I went back, and the fight originally was made at 140 pounds. So I went back to Garrido and said, look, it's going to be 140 pounds, it's going to be 10 rounds, do you want it? And he said, I can only really do 144 pounds. So I went back and said, look, unfortunately, it's got to be 140 pounds. He says, well, I've just spoke to Tyrone McKenna, and he says 144 pounds is fine. I was like, mate, well, you're a matchmaker now as well as a fighter. So Tyrone was happy with the weight. He wanted a good fight. He's got it in Garrido. So that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun. And so is Tennyson against Trainer. It's going to be a war as well. And for me, you know, the standout fight at the undercard is Paul Hyland Jr. against Stephen Ormond. It's a real crunch clash for both. Paul Hyland coming off a good win against Dingsdale. He's looking for the shot at the British title. Ormond has lost a few big ones lately. Must win this fight to stay alive, really, on that scene. And I saw pictures of him at his check weight. He looks absolutely in great shape. I think you're going to see a war between Hyland and Ormond, and loads of good young fighters on the card. Look out for Fergal McCrory. You've got David Joyce, Gary Cully, Joe Fitzpatrick, and for me, two of the top prospects in world boxing right now, Anthony Fowler and Josh Pretty Boy Kelly, who are, you know, both in good step ups again, and both really on the verge now of making that big step into, you know, certainly English and British title level in 2018.
The other night you had the Anthony Joshua media workout. We saw Joshua doing a huge amount of press and stuff. What's his mood set at the moment?
It's good. I mean,
sort of the change
sort
of opponent, etc.
I think with Josh, everything's been so smooth throughout his whole career. You know, we've never had any pullouts. You know, he's obviously won every fight, and every fight by stoppage. But he's smart enough to know that sometimes these things can happen. So, firstly, when Klitschko pulled out of the fight, that was a bit of a blow. You know, he was looking forward to that rematch. Then we quickly went and made the Pulev fight, so he was back on that. And then obviously a couple of days ago, he gets a call to say it's now Carlos Takam. His first reaction was that I think he was quite excited because the style of Pulev doesn't always lend itself to being an entertaining fight. There are some fighters, James, you might find this strange, who, if a fight is a bit boring, will think about the fans and think, this is a bit boring, isn't it? Anthony Croller's one of them. He said sometimes when the fight's not really happening, he said in the Ricky Burns fight after 3 rounds, I was thinking, this isn't really what the fans want, this is a bit boring. I mean, it's a mental attitude, and Josh is the same. So when he found out about Takam, he was quite pleased because he knows what Takam does, which is just come forward, throw big bombs, and just force relentless pressure. Whereas Pulev, probably a little bit more of a fencing match, even though probably more people have heard of Pulev. So he was like, he just finished the session, he was a bit tired, so he was a little bit pissed off. And then he came back and he was like, it's all right, you know, I'm quite looking forward to it. Rob McCracken, on the other end, was having kittens because Rob is someone who is meticulous in his preparation. And he spent the last 10 weeks preparing for Kubrat Pulev, sparring partners, etc. And now he's got a week or less to have a few spars with a much shorter guy. I mean, Takam, although Takam weighs like nearly 18 stone, and he's an absolute brick shithouse. He's ripped to shreds. He's only 6'2", so it's a massive size difference fighting 6'2" to 6'6", and he comes in low as well, and he's like bobbing his head and he wings them over the top. So it's a completely different style. But Josh was in great form at the media workout. Looks brilliant. I think he's going to come in about a stone lighter than he did against the Klitschko fight, because he knows he came in much too heavy in that fight. And I'm looking for a good performance. I honestly think it's going to be a really good fight, because Takam, Sky were with him yesterday. He's been training for 6-7 weeks for this fight. He actually says to Sky that although he knew at some point he might fight Joshua, he wasn't focusing on that, and he was just focusing on the Monaco show. Not sure I believe him, but he's fit, he's ready. He's had the touch of all touches, you know. He's making obviously a career high payday, and he has a shot to win a world title. And you'll see when he comes to Cardiff next week, he's a bubbly kind of guy. You know, he's not sort of Pulev's quite moody, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know, like Takam's like, the spring in his step is unbelievable, because he's got this shot, and he'll give it everything. I'm not saying it's going to be enough, because he's going to get hit by a steam train, but he has got a great chin, and I think you'll get more rounds out of this fight than you would out of the Pulev fight.
Speaking to Dillian Whyte, he's excited obviously with the opportunity of Hellenius. If you would have had longer than, say, notice for the Pulev fight, would you have looked at that rematch? Or do you think
but only
Dillian
if the mandatory wasn't involved, because as soon as Pulev pulls out, we've accepted the IBF mandatory, there's nothing we can do. Pulev was that mandatory. Now, the only thing we can do there is, the IBF rules is that the mandatory goes to the next available contender, which is Carlos Takam. So obviously I had him standing by anyway, but we have to deal with that mandatory. So Dillian really didn't come into it. Also, that's a really big fight that I think both guys would want longer prep for. Definitely Dillian, because that's a huge opportunity for him to go and fight the world titles. Fighters are fighters. If I would have phoned up Josh actually said to me, "What about Dillian?" And if I phoned up Dillian and went, "What about AJ next week?" He'd go, "Yeah, I'll do it." You know what I mean? But fighters have to be protected by themselves, by others, for themselves, because that's what they do. They fight. But I want, and I can't, obviously I've made it clear many, many times, I want Dillian Whyte to fight Deontay Wilder February the 3rd at the O2 Arena. He has to win on Saturday night. Again, you see a lot of people who just presume, who's a Robert Hellenius? And then you speak to people in the game, they know this is a tough fight. Hellenius is what, 6'9", 6'8", whatever it is. It's a tough fight. It's the toughest fight of Dillian's career outside of AJ and possibly Chisora. I know Hellenius beat Chisora, but many thought Chisora won that fight. So this is a tough fight, and it's for the WBC silver title, and it's for a shot at the number one in the division. So this is a chance, and if we can't get the Wilder fight, he's got to force the mandatory on Wilder. Everybody wants to do a deal that ties in the Joshua fight. You know what I mean? I will fight Dillian if you guarantee us. You'll get that fight. Like, the winner of that fight can fight AJ, no problem. But I want to see Dillian fight Wilder. It's not a case of, why don't you give Wilder Joshua? We will give him it. In the summer, he can fight.
Would it be a career high payday for Deontay Wilder to come to the O2 in February to face Dillian Whyte?
Yes. He's already been offered a career high payday. But maybe he doesn't want to come to the UK. He certainly doesn't want to fight Dillian Whyte. Whatever he says, people don't want to fight Dillian Whyte. He's a handful. Like I say, two people I know want to fight Dillian Whyte. Derek Chisora and Anthony Joshua. Probably Gerald Miller, actually. He's a bit nuts as well. But the others don't want to touch him. Even Robert Hellenius, in the end, Hellenius was our number one choice, and it took weeks and weeks and weeks and money and money and money to get the fight. We went through, and Dillian was doing his nut in the end, coming to our office. I thought he was going to chin me. But we've been through everyone. But I want, I spoke to his guys the other day, Deontay Wilder. We want to do this fight. And if he believes that he is the baddest man on the planet, or the most feared man on the planet, or the best heavyweight on the planet, mate, you'll beat Dillian Whyte easy. Don't worry about it. But by the way, if you do beat Dillian Whyte, the AJ fight becomes huge.
Would
If you
that be
don't,
because his profile's opened up through the Dillian Whyte fight here in the UK?
he has no profile. Like, this is a guy, and this is you go back to the problems in America with people promoting, and I put Daniel Jacobs in the same bracket. You meet Daniel Jacobs, you look at him, you think, you look $1 million, you talk so well, your backstory's incredible, you're #1 middleweight in the world, or #2 or #3, but no more. And you should be a superstar. Then you look at Deontay Wilder. Great fighter. Looks great. Sharp dresser. He's got all the gift of the gab. And he's the world heavyweight champion from America. He is not a major name in sport in America. I'm sorry. That's the truth. But AJ isn't yet either in America. So I think the focus for that fight, Joshua Wilder, should be in the UK. So it shuts down streets in the UK.
Saw some stories regarding. Sorry to interrupt you. Saw some stories regarding Anthony Joshua, potentially Tyson Fury, some advice being given from Joshua, saying that he's optimistic that the clash will happen in 2018. What are your thoughts on that?
Would absolutely love that fight. I think part of Joshua sometimes sees, Fury beat Klitschko first, and etc., etc. So Joshua wants to fight the best. It's the biggest fight. It might be the biggest fight in world boxing. That fight. The problem you're going to have on all of these fights is what's the split? And I said this in an interview the other day. When you've got someone the size of Anthony Joshua, and then you've got Deontay Wilder, and even more so Joseph Parker, what slice do you give them of the pie? The slice, by the way, is still a huge amount of money, and more they could make in any other fight. But it's all about egos, isn't it? We've seen it a million times before. And what slice do you give Tyson Fury of the pie? No, Tyson Fury needs 1 or 2 fights first. But those fights will be big as well, by the way. I would like, I've said in interviews before, someone needs to get hold of Tyson Fury, sit him down in a room and say, mate, do you know what is in front of you if you really want it? If you're not motivated by money, there's legacy. There's winning your titles back. And if you are motivated by money, boy, you're going to make sacks of it. So whatever way you look at it, it's available to him. But only he can do it.
You mentioned the win over Klitschko. Do you think Fury's win over Klitschko was downplayed? Do you think he didn't get the credit hit?
Well, he didn't. Look, there's many reasons for this. 1, he didn't have the profile. 2, the fight wasn't promoted properly. 3, it done 500,000 buys, something like that. Still good numbers, but that should have done so many more buys. What else? He's not particularly PC. But when you're not particularly PC, you've got to have a team of people around you who can deal with things. I'm talking about PR bloomers. I'm talking about profile. I'm talking about media, everything. Talking to him. Doesn't mean you have to change the person. Do you know what I mean? Go to Tyson and say, don't say that, right, dog. You can't do that. Don't behave like that. Or behave. He ain't going to listen to you. You think Tyson Fury's going to listen to anyone? He's going to do what he wants and when he wants. And for me, that's part of his appeal. You don't want to change Tyson Fury. You've just got to mould him a little bit, and you've got to just, you've got to develop Tyson Fury as a brand. At the moment, it's just complete madness, isn't it? It's just wild. Anything can happen at any time, and that only goes so far. But what you have to think about is the opportunity he has now. But you can't make him do it. I can't make him do it. He has to want to do it. But there's all the reasons to do it. And the Joshua Fury fight is absolutely a fight that we would love, and is a huge fight.
I had the pleasure of interviewing.
And could be built into something much, much bigger. I'm talking about bring Tyson Fury back in March or April, get him a big win, or a win, and then even have another fight, and then fight Josh, or fight Josh in the summer, fight him in November. We want as many contenders as possible. Josh wants to go for 7 or 8 years. At the moment, who are the fights that the public would love to see? Dillian Whyte? Joseph Parker, maybe? Deontay Wilder? Jarrell Miller, if he gets a couple of good wins. You know, obviously Tyson Fury, but that's only 5, and we need 20. So more the merrier.
I had the pleasure of interviewing David Haye a couple of days ago, and he looks very trim. He looks like he's been putting in the effort in this camp, but he's still got an underlining, as much as he tries to deny it, dislike of Tony Bellew.
Yeah.
That one, do you think it's going to catch fire?
I think it will. I think it really will. I think it really will. I think they'll try not to. I mean, don't forget they're both on suspensions from the board, so they're not really allowed to misbehave. And if they do, they could lose their licence, which would put the fight in jeopardy. But they don't like each other at all.
What was he suspended for?
He was suspended because... Bellew, I don't think he's on a suspended.
Right.
Haye is, I believe. He chinned Bellew at the presser, didn't he? And said a few distasteful things, but that's all right. I think that now... I think the difference is in the first fight is Haye looked at Bellew as if, like, you are so irrelevant in my life. Like, I can't believe you're even here. He actually had the that he was getting paid, and he just thought, and obviously then he got beat. Now, he's still got the hump, but he does know he's in a real fight this time.
Must have been a humbling experience for him.
It was, and it was humbling for many reasons. One, because he lost, but two, because he was humiliated by the injury. Do you know what I mean? But it was one of them where he was exposed and he had to put up with it and he had to limp around and he had to crawl around, and he was brave doing it, by the way. Many fighters would have quit in that situation and he didn't. So, you know, I think he deserves credit for that defeat, to be honest with you. But Bellew is like a man possessed in training for that fight. He looks so sharp already. And like I said in the press conference, in the first fight, I really hoped Tony would win. And I believed he could win, but I also knew this is a tough ask. Now, I'd be really disappointed if he didn't win. I expect him to win. And I expect him to do it in clinical fashion.
Mr. Lion. Lion just made an
Yes,
appearance.
Lion. Mate,
Thank you.
Have you come straight from the jazz festival, or?
Yeah.
Oh, good
Yeah.
man. Good man. So,
Top man. It is an interesting contest, and David Haye, if fully fit, like he said today, if he's got aspirations...
oh, look at this.
For you.
Oh, look
Marseille
at this. I knew I was overpaying you.
Such a geezer.
Look at this. Bottle of wine.
For babies
Oh, mate.
and for clean.
Oh, clean. Nice, nice bit of soap. What are you trying to say?
Marseille.
Thank you, mate.
That's great.
What a lovely man.
That's great. Yeah, if, like I
That's
said,
when you know you're paying a fighter too much.
I can't comment on that.
If you weren't, they'd just tell you to fuck off and not
think
give
he
you
just-
a thing.
he's
They might
just
give you a
happy
couple of
that
jelly
you've
beans.
got him on
You're
again,
a lovely
you
man.
If he's got
so
aspirations to challenge Deontay Wilder, this is David Haye
Yeah.
and the likes of Anthony Joshua, should
Well, he can get there.
Should he be beating Tony Bellew clinically?
yeah, of course. But listen, if he doesn't beat Tony Bellew, it's over. He knows that. Everything's over. If he beats Tony Bellew, does he deserve a shot at the world heavyweight title? Maybe not. But sometimes, even if you don't deserve it, you get it if you're the right name. So again, you know, if Haye won, he'd be in the mix at heavyweight. If Bellew won, he's not really interested in, certainly not Joshua and Wilder. You know, these guys are huge in comparison. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the fight. I think first time around, people sort of thought it was a bit of a freak show. You know, good fight, grudge match, but let's be honest, Haye's going to win easy. Now you know it's a really good heavyweight fight, and the grudge will come as well. You'll see it. You'll see it. They're both trying hard, but when they get, I think particularly the gloves are off, I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, there's definitely some animosity between those two. Tony Bellew strikes me as he just wants David Haye's respect. I don't know if this is a game or something.
Of course he wants respect because of what he's achieved in the sport, and he should have it. And David said in the presser, he now has my respect, but I don't believe him. I really don't believe it.
Do you think Haye's motivated by financial reward, or do you think he's motivated by getting back to the top of his career?
I think at that stage in your career, you have to be motivated by the financials. But I do believe he has a burning desire to become champion again. I do. But I think David Haye loves a pound note. Doesn't make him a bad person. But he knows how to promote a show. He's a very good self-promoter. But yes, you know, he made a lot of money from that first fight, and he'll make a lot of money from this fight. and we have no problem with that. But yeah, I think the financial side is definitely important too. And it, like, I think Bellew's plan. Oh look, Bellew. Hold on, let me speak to him. I was just talking about you. Well, I'm currently, I would say I'm live, but I'm not live, but I'm in the middle of an IFL interview. And James Helder asked me, do you think David Haye is motivated by financial side, or do you think he's motivated by actually winning and regaining the heavyweight world title? So I'll ask you, what do you think? Go on, you answer it. Hold on. Carry on.
The simple answer to that question, is he motivated by money or is he motivated by winning the heavyweight championship of the world? He's already had his crack at the undisputed championship of the world and he lost convincingly. Now the man he lost convincingly to, sort of or not, has been beaten on points by one man in Tyson Fury, and then he's been absolutely obliterated and knocked out by another man, Anthony Joshua. So what makes him believe that he can lift the heavyweight championship of the world after being easily outclassed, outbeaten, outpunched, outworked by a man who's been splattered by the current undisputed heavyweight champion of the world? So that lets you further know of why he's involved in the game. He's in it for money, and he got nothing else. He cannot let go of the limelight, and it absolutely kills him that a British man and someone from his end is doing as well as he's doing in Anthony Joshua. He only fights me purely for money. That is the only reason he fights me. And then after that, he's going to go into the darkness and fuck off for good.
Lovely.
Nice one, Tony. Glad you didn't talk too long on
Nice one, Tony. A one-word answer would have been fine, but that was good as well. I'll call you in 5 minutes. Yeah, go on. Let me go back to Frank, because I was asking him about it, because we don't control them, but they're trying to find one. So, I'll come back ASAP. You got a bit of a cold there, you're not going to pull out this fight, are you? No, man. Alright, I'll speak to you in a bit.
Such a
Just
character.
translate that person. You could cut my arms off and my legs off, and I'm fighting that fucking pussy. That is what he just said.
It makes you die.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add? Anything you want to say? Give us some information. Give us the rundown for Saturday.
The rundown for Saturday. Gary Cully, Joe Fitzpatrick, Fergal McCrory, Tommy McCarthy, didn't mention him earlier,
Yeah.
David Joyce, and then we got a lively one between Tyrone McKenna and Reno Garrido. We've got the machine Anthony Fowler over there. Look, there he is, look. Apparel available online. Hats now available, the machine hats, they're now on sale. You've got Pretty Boy Kelly. You know, these two are really coming through the ranks. You got a great fight between Tennyson against Trainer for the WBA international title, and then a war between Paul Highland Jr. and Stephen Orland. Then a big one, history-making, groundbreaking. Zanit Zakyanov against Ryan Burnett, the IBF and the WBA world titles. So basically find out who is the number one in the division. Don't miss it. Saturday night, live and exclusive on Sky.
Jeez.
Jeez.